Once upon a time you opened your eyes and didn't even recognize the person staring back at you. Not in the mirror, but in the silence. That brutal, soul-splitting silence that wraps around you the second you wake up. You stared at the ceiling, your heart beating. But your soul felt like it hadn't moved in years. You didn't know if you were tired, or if the light inside you had finally gone out. You looked composed, unshaken, like you had it all figured out. But behind that mask, your thoughts were clawing through your chest, dragging your spirit into a darkness no one else could see. You smiled like a soldier, but inside, you were bleeding in silence. And the world, it didn't flinch. It kept spinning without mercy. Deadlines kept crashing through your calendar. People kept showing up, wanting something from you. Noise kept flooding in from every corner. News, texts, expectations, responsibilities. And you? You kept moving, you kept performing, like your soul was just background noise. You learned to wear your pain like a second skin. You laughed when your heart was breaking. You got up when all you wanted was to disappear. You became a master at hiding behind a tired smile. But something inside you was cracking, and it wouldn't stay quiet anymore. That's when it hit you. You couldn't keep dragging your soul through the mud of empty days and hollow victories. You couldn't keep handing the pen to your emotions and letting chaos write your story. You were never meant to be ruled by the storm. You were built to face it. And that voice inside, the one you've silenced for too long, it started whispering louder. Stop listening to the noise and start talking to your soul. Because there comes a point where your silence becomes a scream, where your numbness becomes a prison, and the only way out is to reclaim the power you forgot you had. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That line isn't poetic. It's a weapon, and the battlefield is your own mind. But that strength doesn't come from motivation. It's not some high you ride once a week when things go your way. It's not about feeling good. It's about becoming grounded. It's about the words you speak to yourself when no one's watching. The rituals that carry you through hell. The sentences that hold you together when the world tries to tear you apart. The truths you repeat until they're etched into your identity. Not quotes, not affirmations, anchors. They rewire your soul. They reawaken the fire. They remind you who the hell you are when life wants you to forget. This isn't a self-help routine. This isn't some 5-step gimmick. These are 5 brutal truths, carved out of pain, forged in solitude, drenched in reality. Words that don't coddle you, they confront you. Words that you speak before life has a chance to throw its punches, because when the storm hits, and it will, you don't rise by chance. You rise by habit. You rise by what's been drilled into your soul. So don't just sit there nodding. Let every line in this video shake you awake. Let it bleed into the cracks life left behind. Let it speak to the version of you that's been quietly screaming for a resurrection. Every second you hear has been carved for the part of you that refuses to stay buried. The part of you that's tired of being tired. Tired of hiding. Tired of playing small. If you're still here, it means something inside you is still alive, still breathing, still fighting, like this video. Share it with someone who's walking through their storm in silence. Subscribe if your soul needs more than just noise. It needs armor. And drop this in the comments below. Not for me, but for the version of you that's ready to rise. I choose inner strength over outer noise. Because the world is loud, but your silence, that's where your power is born. Now let's get into it. Number 1. I am not my emotions. I am the master of my response. You've had those moments. The kind that knock the wind out of your chest before you even understand why. One text, one tone, one look, and suddenly your entire body tenses, your jaw locks, your fists clench, and your breathing changes. It doesn't take much, just one careless word, one sharp insult, and something primal in you starts to rise. Not logic, not reason, but something wild, burning, furious. You want to lash out. You want to say the most hurtful thing that hits back harder than what was thrown at you. You want to make them feel what they made you feel. And in that split second, you're gone. But once the dust settles, once the adrenaline fades, and you're left staring at the damage you caused, that's when it hits you. Regret. Shame. That feeling of I let them pull me out of my own character. You remember the silence after the storm, the heavy kind, the kind that doesn't feel like peace, it feels like defeat. And that's when the real voice speaks. Not the one that shouted, not the one that snapped, the real one. The part of you that says, "Why did I hand over my power so easily?" Marcus Aurelius once said, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that arouse them in us?" And when you've lived it, when you've hurt someone you love, or even worse, disrespected yourself, those words don't just make sense, they sting, because you realize it wasn't them who had the power, it was you, and you gave it away. But listen closely. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. You're not a robot. You're not made of ice. Your emotions are real, and they deserve to be felt. But they are not meant to control you. They're messengers, not your master. They're signals, not chains. You don't kill them. You command them, like fire in a forge, like wild horses that only respect strength, not silence. You hold the reins, not to deny the storm inside you, but to direct it. That is not weakness. That is the rarest kind of power. Because responding with rage is easy. Anyone can explode. But the man who can stand in front of chaos and not flinch, the one who can stare provocation in the face and choose silence instead of screaming, that man holds a strength that others will never understand. That's not cowardice. That's control. That's warriorship. So next time someone tries to bait you, break you, or bend your spirit to their level, pause. Feel the emotion. Acknowledge it. Let it rise. But don't let it win. Look it straight in the face and whisper, "I am not my emotions. I am the master of my response." Say it until it becomes a law inside your soul. Because that's how you win without even swinging. That's how you walk away from chaos with your head high and your dignity untouched. You're not meant to be a mirror. You're meant to be the mountain, unshaken, silent, immovable. They can scream, provoke, insult, but they cannot reach you unless you lower yourself to meet them. And you've come too far for that. You are the storm they cannot predict, the calm they cannot break, the fire they cannot burn. And that is a level of power most will never even taste. Number 2. Today, I fight for my mind. The real war isn't on the streets. It's not in your bank account. It's not in the words of your enemies or even the ones you love. The bloodiest battlefield you will ever walk is inside your own head. That's where the war starts. That's where it either ends or breaks you piece by piece. Before your feet even hit the floor in the morning, it begins. Thoughts ambush you. Old pain slips through the cracks. Memories you buried 6 years ago suddenly feel like they happened 6 minutes ago. And the worst part, you're not even fully awake, and the fight's already started. You try to shake it off, try to breathe it out, but that voice, that damn voice is already whispering in your ear. You're not enough. You'll mess it up again. You'll never change. It doesn't scream. It poisons you slowly, quietly, like a familiar toxin you've learned to live with. But that's the trap. You were never meant to carry that voice like a companion. You were meant to confront it. You were meant to fight it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So you've got to ask yourself, what shade is your soul wearing right now? Is it stained with comparison, regret, fear that feels too loud to ignore? Because if you don't take back the brush, the world will paint you in colors you were never meant to wear. This is not about being positive. This is about survival. This is about waking up, standing tall, and choosing deliberately to protect the most sacred ground you've got, your mind. You don't need a sword. You need discipline. You need boundaries like walls. You need silence like armor. You unfollow chaos. You delete the number that poisons your peace. You block the noise that steals your strength. Not for revenge, not for ego, but because your peace cost blood and you refuse to lose it for cheap drama. Some days, the battle will break you. Some days, you'll fall flat, and the voices will feel louder than ever. But even in that failure, there's a fight. Even in that moment, there's something sacred: awareness. And that awareness means the enemy didn't win. You're still in it. You're still showing up. That's strength. That's warriorship. So tomorrow, when your demons come back dressed in your own thoughts, don't feed them. Don't let them take the wheel. Stand in front of that mirror, look yourself in the eye, and say it like a soldier preparing for war. Today, I fight for my mind. Not tomorrow, not when it's easy, not when I feel like it. Today, right now, this breath, this second, this is the line, and nothing crosses it. You were never weak. You were just unarmed. But now, you're awake, and they won't know what hit them. Number 3. I will not beg for what is meant for me. You've sat in rooms where your name was only remembered when it was convenient. You've loved with a loyalty that cracked your ribs, hoping that if you just gave it more time, more effort, more of yourself, something would finally bloom. But all you got was silence. You watered dead plants with your soul. You begged for crumbs in places where you should have been served a feast. And let's be clear, it wasn't weakness. It was your heart, wide open, trying to make sense of why people don't value what's real anymore. But there comes a moment, a brutal, awakening moment, where you look around and ask yourself, what the hell am I even doing here, sitting in conversations where your voice dies before it even reaches their ears? Sending messages into a void, waiting for ghosts to reply, giving chances to people who use your forgiveness like a doormat. And you realize this isn't love, this isn't connection, this is self-abandonment. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." And that wasn't about shutting down. That wasn't about becoming numb. That was about remembering who you are before the world told you to beg for affection. It's about standing so firmly in your worth that you don't have to chase. You don't shrink for anyone. You don't bend your spine just to keep someone who was never planning to stay. You build, you become, and you walk away. Not out of rage, but with that quiet fire that says, I'm done starving in places that refuse to feed me. And yes, letting go hurts. It stings like hell. Your chest will ache in all the places your hope once lived. But that ache will light a fire, and from that fire, you will rise, stronger, clearer, louder. Because now you know, if something is truly meant for you, It won't make you beg. Say it again, not just with your lips, but with your spine, your heart, your footsteps. I will not beg for what is meant for me. Let it echo through every version of you that once settled for less. Number 4. My peace is my priority. I protect it like a sacred fire. You ever feel that quiet moment hit your chest like a wave? Not just silence, not just stillness, real peace. It's when the chaos stops knocking at your door, when your phone finally shuts the hell up, when you stop pretending to be okay just to keep the peace and start protecting the kind that actually keeps you whole. It's not a lack of noise, it's the absence of pretending. No more playing roles, no more biting your tongue to be likable. Just you, breathing without a mask on. Peace isn't some pretty word to hang on your wall. It's survival. It's the ground beneath your feet. And when you trade it for approval or comfort, piece by piece, you disappear. You lose the sound of your own thoughts. You forget the rhythm of your soul. And by the time you realize it, you're a stranger in your own damn life. You used to think peace meant being soft, being quiet, keeping things smooth. But now, you know better. Peace is fierce. Peace has teeth. Peace is saying no without trembling. It's leaving people mid-conversation if your spirit feels under attack. It's blocking numbers, burning bridges, and walking out of rooms where your presence is only needed when you're useful. It's letting go of love that hurts more than it heals, and doing it without looking back. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. And maybe that's the only damn place left where you're safe." So you go back to yourself. Back to the version of you that didn't flinch every time the world demanded more than you had to give. You protect your peace like a sacred fire. Not everyone gets to feel its warmth. Not everyone deserves to stand near it. And when someone tries to smother it with their noise, their chaos, their constant hunger, you become the flame. You don't explain. You don't apologize. You guard the gate even if it leaves you standing alone. Because peace isn't always beautiful, but it's yours. And it's everything. Number 5. I owe no one an explanation for my healing. You've vanished before, not out of bitterness, not to punish anyone, but because inside you were screaming, and no one heard a sound. You were drowning in plain sight, smiling just enough to keep them from asking questions. You needed silence, not the kind that echoes, but the kind that lets you breathe. You needed to hear your own damn heartbeat again, without the noise of other people's expectations pounding in your ears. And the world, it noticed your absence, but never once asked if your soul was bleeding beneath the surface. So you stopped explaining. You stopped breaking your own peace just to give others comfort. You learned to make your healing sacred, something that didn't need to be broadcast, justified, or performed. Because healing isn't some inspirational quote wrapped in sunshine. It's a war, a silent, brutal, unglamorous war you fight with your past while the world demands your smile. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That line doesn't just speak, it cuts when you're healing. Because when you're climbing out of your own wreckage, everyone suddenly wants to shape your recovery. Be softer, be more available, be who you used to be. But no one asks if that old version of you was dying just to survive. And healing? It's not always pretty. It's not always peaceful. Sometimes it's blocking people you swore would be forever. Sometimes it's sitting in your room, deleting every picture, every message, shaking like hell, but doing it anyway. Sometimes it's choosing solitude because your spirit can't fake one more conversation. It's messy, it's loud in your chest and silent on the outside, and it's yours. You don't owe anyone a damn thing for that. Not an explanation, not an update, not a polished version of your pain. The ones who didn't walk with you through the fire have no right to question how you rose from it. Most don't care about your healing. They care about your availability, your access. And the moment you start protecting your soul, they call you selfish, cold, changed. Let them. Let them drown in their confusion while you build your peace. You're not healing for applause. You're healing for resurrection. And if someone dares to question your distance, remind yourself with fire in your bones, I don't owe anyone the version of me that almost killed me. This hit you like a punch because it's not just words on a screen. It's your story, the weight in your bones, the scars no one sees, the fire flickering, refusing to die. These aren't just quotes. They're battle cries from the war of becoming someone fierce, someone reborn. Hold them close. Speak them into your quiet moments. Let them shape who you are when no one's watching. This is more than a video. It's your truth, your fight, your rise. And now, it's personal.